Hello, friends. Today is Good Friday, and I don't know if you ever had this question. I know I did growing up at different times, and I finally did a little research. Why on earth is it called Good Friday? It seems like in many ways it was a pretty bad Friday. Bad in the sense of a lot of people crucified an innocent soul who was a great savior and a great master, and that doesn't seem like such a great thing. Well, it turns out that the word good has kind of devolved from the word God. It was God's Friday, and it kind of came into English as good in the same way that I just learned this more recently. Goodbye used to be God be with you, and it kind of got contracted into that phrase or that word, goodbye, God be with ye. And so think today, yes, it's Good Friday in the sense that we are the beneficiaries of his sacrifice if we tune into it, if we are receptive to it. But also think of it in that older sense of it being God's Friday. This is God's day, and we don't necessarily notice any particular given day. You know, as the decades pile up one on top of the other, they can start to run together a little bit. And sometimes it's good every so often to just stop and say, this is God's day. Let me tune into it. Let me tune into the potential of it. And this being a day that is focused around the life of Christ, and particularly around the crucifixion and death of Christ, and then eventual resurrection on Sunday, let's be aware of his life. We naturally focus on his crucifixion today. We commemorate his crucifixion today. But that would be sort of depressing and discouraging. I mean, if you think of the horror of the thing, it's terrifying, it's horrible. But focusing on him and his response to it is actually quite inspiring. On the cross, in incredible suffering, human suffering, he has the grace to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And, you know, if you think of that phrase, they know not what they do, that's kind of an older, more formal way of expressing, hey, you don't know what you're doing. You know, you could say that to somebody who doesn't know how to wash your windows correctly, or, you know, isn't washing the car very well, or whatever. Just any, you know, somebody who doesn't know how to, you know, sends the email to the whole list when they really only meant to send it to one person, or something like, you know, you don't know what you're doing. But to be able to say that in that extreme moment, when the entire world had basically turned against him, and those who were with him were hiding, basically, except maybe his mother and a few others, very few others, who couldn't do anything about it, couldn't do anything to stop it. His consciousness was free, and he could bless the people who were doing this to him from that place. And wow, what an example. An example for us to try to live up to in our little ways. Because all of us have been crucified in one small way or another, little tiny ways, sometimes more significant ways. But how many of us can say those words at that critical moment? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is an example worth trying to emulate in our lives. But also just to emulate the grace with which he lived. He lived to serve He lived to share God's blessing. And we could all do the same if we chose to. So on this Good Friday, let's remember that it's God's day and try to explore the deepest potential of this day. God be with you.